Well met, everyone. I am Rich the Lich, and today I'm doing a spotlight on Monster Manual Expanded 3. This is the third of, obviously, of the expanded monster manuals. The first two and this one you can find all on DM's Guild, designed and developed by Dragonix. I've done a review and a spotlight on the first two, and I believe they've reached something like adamantine seller status, so they are some of the biggest, hottest, most successful products that have been on DM's Guild. You can get this one right now on DM's Guild for $34.95, and I will put a link in the description so you can jump right to that. Dragonix and I he's definitely an acquaintance of mine. We've had a good relationship over the years from the very first Monster Manual Expanded, and I am extremely grateful and honored that he reached out to me while in development of this. And he said that when this thing is out, I'm going to send you a copy that you can talk through on video. So thank you so much for that. And also, when doing a little bit of detective work and reading a little bit about Dragonix, I found out that his hometown, or where he is from, is the Philippines. Dragonix, I am also Filipino. I'm married to a Filipino, therefore my children are Filipino. So, salamat. Thank you so much for sending this to me. Very honored, very appreciative. I want to just indicate and tell you all that because I did not have to pay for this. As I said, hopefully I'll talk you through enough and show you simply what is here, and you can make that decision for yourself. Go to DM's Guild and decide whether this is going to be worth your $35, which, quite honestly, up front, that's telling us this is the price of a regular WotC official monster book. But you have 320 monsters here. If you know anything or you've been a fan of the stuff in Monster Manual 1 and 2, you definitely want to take a look at this, okay? This is a spotlight where I'm going to talk through top to bottom what's here. I'm going to try and remain as objective as possible, but I'm going to reveal my hand to you right now and turn it into a little bit of a subjective, opinionated review point. This product is incredible. I think it's the best of the three. It's been a while, granted, that I've looked through Monster Manual 1 and 2, and I have used the monsters and things in Monster Manual 1 and 2 in my campaigns, in my games, in my adventures. But this one here really stands out. Notably because, and it mentions that when we get to the introduction here, the quality of artwork. Let's take a look here. So you have the introduction, amazing front cover, as I said. I mean, right there. That is world class, right? This is professional video game level concept art, right? Movie level concept art. It has that fantastic element, but there's just a lot there. Yes, it's a very, what do you call it, Terran, earthen, elementally, big, giant, lumbering, ogre-ish, but it's not any of those things. It's just this awesome piece of artwork that inspires. And this guy, even though he's kind of there as a splash page, he's in the book. There is a stat block for him, which we'll talk through, okay? Here's all your credits. This is where Dragonix talks about where he's from and sort of the inspiration. And there's just a lot of information here where he just talks about how it was so important to him to have professional level artwork. And it really is the selling point of this book more than anything else, okay? Because we all need to, as DMs and at our table, weave through the validity of these things with CR. But I've made a video about this quite some time ago. You can look for it. CR is broken in 5th edition D&D. No one table can say that the CR of any monster is exact for each other table, right? It just depends on many, many factors, so you have to weave through the balance of this yourself, but he does have some playtesters involved that have, based on the assumption of what that would mean, they've walked through some of these monsters, they've used some of these, right? So you're not going to have something that's listed as CR3, but it really should be CR20. I don't think you're going to have a gross mistake to that level, okay? Table of contents, of course, you can jump right through efficiently. I mean, at the very back, 286, right here. 320 terrifying new monsters, okay? Monster Manual Expanded 3, as with the two previous adamantine best-selling books, which should sell you on it right there. If this is the same guy with the same fit and finish and polish and effort that made those first two, which are grossly successful, not just, in sales, but they are very, very good books. They're very highly respected as an independent product or a DM's Guild product, rivaling, if not surpassing, some of the official monster books, which, quite frankly, I feel like is a little bit stagnant from WotC's, output, including the ones that when they put in new monsters in various adventures and whatnot. So you're getting the same stuff, but just with much higher quality artwork, okay? So you can churn through, go anywhere you want. I love when it does stuff like this where instead of trying to crunch too much together and say, here's the stat block, but here's the artwork, but then it's kind of muddied of there's no clear label where I know I'm looking at an Archon, but which Archon am I looking at and which stat block goes with it? Dragonix uses a lot of layout and design like this where you'll see amazing artwork, but very quickly, I know exactly which one the Lantern is, which one the Justice, the Owl, and the Trumpet, just based on the labels below. And that way, it gives room when I jump to the next page. There's the Hound, there's the Justice, there's the Lantern, there's the Owl, right? It's not trying to crunch too much or mix things up. Yes, you're not going to be, confuse an owl. We all know what that is. But you'll notice when you get to orcs and things like that, it's like, well, which one is the Brute and which one's the Berserker? They both look really aggressive, barbarian-esque orcs. But you'll notice in those orcs, it lays them out cleanly so you can identify very quickly which is which. So that's a really good touch of not trying to squeeze too much, not wasting space, and just being very efficient of how to highlight the amazing artwork, but still adhere to and respect and remember that you need to provide a stat block. This is still a monster book. It's not just an art book, okay? So there you have some really cool artwork for Archons. The Warden, the Sword, and the Throne, right there. Sword, Throne. I mean, the amount that's here, yes, we're talking Archons, right? A very powerful entity. So you have a challenge rating of 15, the Throne Archon, which is this guy. Just looks incredible, right? And as good as this looks, there's instances, many, within this book that take this artwork and ramp it up even further, okay? But, Penitentiary Gaze, Aura of Menace, right? It's not just cut and paste taking, Undead Fortitude and all these other traits and features that are already present. No, it's creating these entirely new things to work through, and I've talked about that in so many videos. The inspiration and the spark that's here as a Dungeon Master is just that. It's so inspiring for me. It makes me want to grab these things and bring them to the table. But there's so much value in bringing monsters and creatures and encounters to the table when it's not predictable. When your players don't already know, it's a Mind Flayer, let's make sure we can resist psychic damage if possible. Be careful of getting it out of this cone. The dragon, it's going to fly, claw, bite, tail, wing buffet, or whatever they call it, right? And then it's going to have breath weapon, and we kind of know what the damage element is based on the color of the dragon. Here, what can a Throne Archon do? No one is going to predict this entire block of text right here as to what it can do, right? And how it affects depending on your alignment. So it has a lot of stuff like this where it's just giving us lots of new, okay? As you go through and you kind of browse to the back of the book, you can quickly see that, and we'll do that, matter of fact, right now. By CR, we've got a couple at CR 1/4, 3 of them at CR 1/2, and a bunch at CR 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you've got like 15 monsters at CR 1 and less, right? All the way up to a 3-headed ancient red dragon, which is probably on the front cover, at CR 26. So it's running the whole spectrum of CRs. So you've got more than enough to work through for your table. A bunch of new things with new stat blocks, things that you as the DM aren't going to know, and certainly your players won't know. Okay? So that's the overall feel that you're going to get repeated page after page, okay, as we kind of go through. So there's a bunch of Archons. Now we're getting into the more fallen Archons, right? The Harbinger, the Injustice, and the Hellhound. Awesome artwork. This Injustice looks incredible. And again, I love that it kind of creates it as its own piece of artwork, separate. Something I can just stare at and be inspired by that. But the labels down below, very clean, easy to read. I know when I look at the stat block exactly which one I'm referring to. There's been official WotC books that have like 2nd or 3rd edition. One of them was horrible in design. The artwork was on the next page. Like you read a stat block, literally flip a page to see the picture. Right? But then on that page where the picture was, there was another stat block right next to the picture. But that stat block didn't apply to the artwork on that page. The art was related to the... You get it. It was really confusing. Here, it's pretty clean, right? It's very clean. It's very simple to read through and navigate. So it makes me just want to look at pretty pictures, but also I can just start browsing through stat blocks and using these little checklists of, I want something CR 13 or higher. I'm going to use the Harbinger. I don't need the Hellhound. Very good. I know I'm looking at this artwork, not this one. Okay? So here you have Ravager, Hellblade, Tyrant, and they look very different. Yes, there's a very demonic, evil, fallen Archon feel, but the artwork is different. Little flourishes of other background and sort of filler artwork, right? The Tyrant Archon, the Ravager Archon, that's from this previous one right here. There's the Tyrant. There's the Ravager. You'll also notice there's a couple of instances where you'll get, or multiple instances where you'll get multiple pieces of artwork for the same monster, which is really, really nice touch. You have things like this. Aswangs. I love the pronunciation little part there in the parentheses. And then here, now you're getting into like the stuff you would have found in Volo's guide, right? Where it kind of offers a lot more backstory. Like, what are these things about? Notice it's not just a piece of art and then here's a stat block, right? No, this is an entire like species, right? Something that you can use as like the foundation of your adventure, your campaign. Like, there is this horrible accursed humanoid thing that transforms into a fiend, and that is what's terrorizing this. It's not just one monster or one throwaway encounter. All of these things are causing this issue throughout this entire kingdom. But you have a lot to go off of, right? The curse about them, Masters of Deception. I love when it offers us more fuel to bring to the table. And then, of course, you've got artwork to boot, right? So this is sort of the overlying umbrella of what they are, the Aswangs. And then you have the Buso, which is this stat block, and there's the artwork. You have the Halima, the Kubot, the Tick Tick. There's the Halima, right? Stat block. There's the Kubo. Manananggal. A lot of these maybe are like inspired, it seems like, just based on the pronunciation of it. Maybe some things from old, ancient, like mythology in the Philippines, right? Tick Tick. Very, very cool. You have the Arumvirax. That's familiar to me. Artwork is incredible. I love it. It's kind of creating them as like entire images that convey a story versus just a standalone floating Arumvirax in white space, right? So this gives us a lot. But because of the layout and the quality of artwork, Dragonix has allowed us to be, to visualize it all that way, to be able to separate between high-level art and then really cool stat blocks. You have an Elder, you have a giant version of it. So we'll just do some quick scroll through because we're already running pretty long. But again, you're getting the gist of the way the flow is. So if you like what you've seen in the first 20 pages, you're just going to get that for the next 200. Okay? Awesome Beholders. Gorbels, that looks incredible. Look at the artwork again. I love these type of things, right? So Bugbears. You have a Witch Doctor, a Blood Ghost Berserker, a Hunter, and a Warlock. What he's done here with a lot of these monsters where you're getting, yes, we know bugbears. We're familiar. They've been in many monster books. But the variants that you get here, what they offer is sort of like the way you had the different roles from 4th edition D&D, which is a big selling point of 4th edition combat, is people really like that you had kind of, when you're talking about goblins and humanoids and hobgoblins, bugbears and orcs, you had different roles where you had the frontline orcs, but then you had the orcs that were range combatants, and then you had skirmishers that were really mobile and things like this. And that was a big selling point for 4th edition. So even though we're getting familiar archetypes, the presentation and the offering, the variety that's here is really, really strong because it gives us a lot of variety. I mean, your bugbear fight now, you don't just have to say he's the chieftain, therefore he's a bigger bugbear with more hit points, more AC, and that's it. And then you have lackey bugbears, which just don't have as many hit points or as high AC. And that's the only differentiator, right? Visually, he's just bigger. No, if you look at these stat blocks, I mean, this guy's CR6, but he has legendary actions. He's the Beast Lord. Where is he at? Right there. The Dark Claw of Skigaret. You're leaning into their gods, their pantheon. The Dread Eye of Gronkool, right? Bugbear Boss. The Blood Ghost Berserker. Very different, but think of the amount of variety you now have in your game when you fight bugbears. They're not all equal anymore. What they do is very different, right? This used to be sort of just a more powerful hobgoblin or not quite ogre level, but stronger than orcs. But that's it. They kind of fit within that little window of here's the CR that you should be fighting at for my group. And we'll keep it in there. We'll use bugbears, but not quite ogres yet. Certainly not giants. And that was all, though. They were kind of throwaway creatures. Not anymore. Because there's so much variety, so much to work through, so many things they do, incredible artwork that you can show that there's clear separators on the battlefield when you see that versus that versus that. I can already tell. Be careful with him. We need to counterspell that guy. That guy's going to poke at us from range. Stay away. Be careful. We may not even see him. The boss is over here. But then you've got this guy over here, the bugbear boss. I'm just talking about bugbears. So really, really well done. Variety, artwork. Bullywugs are given awesome amounts of treatment here. Okay? The amount of variety in art and visuals, just without even reading stat blocks, screams to me and makes me want to create an entire adventure built around Bullywugs now. Priests, skirmishers, again, sort of filling those roles like 4th edition did. There he is. Boongisnigis. And then there's a couple of variant, right? There's a shaman variant of it. Cambion. A clockwork beholder. I mean, the detail that's here, just in their stuff, it's just really, really cool. Deep spawns. A tyrant deep spawn. Demons. Can never have too many of them, right? We have a Hierophant of Annihilation. Marazai Lord. Mavawan, Nabasu, Drakatars. Cool artwork again. There's like a story there, right? Kind of gives us what sort of environment might they be in and so on. That Volo's Guide-esque treatment where it gives us a little bit of detail about them and just what they're about and their tribes and what they're known for. And then, of course, you have different types. You have Drakatar, you have like the archers and Berserker and the champion of Tiamat, and you have a chieftain and you have a priest of Tiamat, a shaman, a war mage, kind of like the bugbears. You just have so much variety. Yes, you don't have artwork for every one of those guys in that particular instance, but we get the gist of what they overall look like and feel like, right? But you know that they can fill sort of those different roles as different classes and capabilities, which is awesome. Dragons. Okay, we're going to get brown dragon, and then you have, of course, your juvenile, your young. And what I like here is you have, like, the big one, obviously, right? But even though you're dealing with brown dragons, it still gives us another picture of a brown dragon, possibly for one of the, like, the young adult, right? You have an adult. So I love that it's still brown dragons, but it's giving us different images of the same creature that can kind of help us link to what they might look like at different ages and power levels. Gray dragon. Awesome art. Incredible art. There he is again. A young gray. A little bit of a flourish of him in the background. Purple dragon. That's beautiful. Right there. The Hellfire Worm. Has that sort of magma, but chitinous sort of, just outstanding. I mean, the juvenile is a CR 8. You have Wormling. They can alternate, change shape, so take different forms, right? I'm going to sit quiet and let you enjoy this one for a minute. You have to use this somewhere. I mean, come on. You're combining Mind Flayers and... So awesome. There he is. And now, right here, you're getting multi-headed dragons, which really change, right? Talks about multiple personalities, like how you might interact with them socially. Parlay, not just combat-oriented. And then templates that you can use, right? And it gives you these, like, little things that you can use as, like, a checklist of things to, like, an ingredient list you can pull from to build your own dragon. So that it isn't just a regular, ancient, or a great worm, but it's just a different color. Therefore, let's figure out what element he would be breathing based on his color. Now you're using these templates, you're creating two-headed dragons. Changes it up, right? But is it only or just the same thing except he's got 2 breath weapons now, right? But there's a lot of nuance and detail you can kind of work through. Like the dragon has advantage on wisdom perception checks and on saving throws against being blinded, charmed, deafened, frightened, stunned, and knocked unconscious. For each head the dragon has beyond 1, it gets an extra reaction that can only be used for opportunity attacks. That's the multi-headed sort of trait and feature that's there. Three-headed. Similar, or the same thing, right? It's a multi-headed beast, but now you have these templates to go through. You have a spectral dragon. Beautiful, beautiful art. Driders. Drooge. Claw. You have an eye, you have a head. Duendes. Those are interesting. Have you seen those before? None of us have, right? But there's a lot there. You've got this guy, the dark, the gray. They look interesting. Well, I knew they were Fey folk. You could just tell. Eladrin, right? Let's do a quick scroll through, and we'll wrap it up. You've got Winter Eladrin. That thing. I mean, look at the quality of artwork here, guys. I mean, can't beat it. Honestly, doesn't get better. You've seen me make a 5-bullet sort of how to prepare a campaign based off of a piece of artwork. I can take that artwork right there and create an entire, not just adventure, I can make a whole campaign off of the quality of that art. There are so many questions I'm asking myself as a DM. And as I start answering them, I have things to churn through. That's the essence of content. When you're dealing with $35, do I have things I can plug and play? Of course you do. You have monsters. You need bugbears, but you don't want just a default bigger bugbear and smaller bugbear. How many bugbears were there? How many bullywugs? Those Drakatars. There was like 11 different types. And we're only on like letter D, right? But now I just want inspiration, something to springboard off of to make my own thing, my own story, even if I don't want to just make an encounter yet. There's so much in the quality of this art that I have to push off of, to lean against when I just want to say why there's something going on in the Cursed Forest. What is it? What is it doing? That is what high quality artwork can do. And this book has that. I've mentioned it 18 times already, in abundance. I really like these things. It's a gator folk, but you've got the default. You have a chieftain. You have a claw of Sessanek, a shaman, a witch doctor, types. Giants have always been near and dear and true to my heart. Here's where you're getting really those rolls from 4th edition style, like you have an artillerist, you have a Blackguard of Searcher. Matter of fact, in my current campaign, 2 sessions ago, they just had a huge fight against fire giants. And I didn't want to just use Duragar or Magman. I wish I had other types of fire giants to create some variety so it wasn't just Hulk smash, resist fire is what you need to deal with these guys. There's so much variety here that I wish I had access to this when I was planning that out. And then I love that there's artwork, and they're different. That Chain Brute looks different than the War Mage, but there's enough familiarity and similarity there that I know what I'm dealing with. I'm dealing with these fire giants. But it now screams to us that this is what a family, or an entire layer, or a black obsidian fortress of fire would look and feel like, and who would be within it, right? Juggernaut, a warlord of Imix. It does the same for your frost giants. You have a mammoth rider, a mauler. Look at these things. Awesome piece of artwork where you're getting that right there. But then there is your shaman, a warlock. Just look really closely at the art and the nuance and the detail. Hill giants. A boss, warlord, gladiators, a siege hulk, dudes on his back, howdah stuff, skirmishers, a warlock ogre, or a hill giant. I keep saying ogre, they look ogreish. Stone giants, all the gnolls, goblins, golems. I could be here for 2 hours, and maybe you'd want me to do that to help inform you before you spend your money. But I mean, we've got gnolls, goblins, golems, guard drakes, cardinals. You have hags, hobgoblins, Kirin, kobolds, Korid, Kuatoa, Lamasus, Nagas, Sahagin, Shedus. I don't even know what some of this stuff is. Revenants, plants, Pegatars, para-elementals. That's a whole new thing. That's incredible. Purchase it. It's worth it. Orcs, Orogs, Shedu, Chakra Lizard, Sphinxes, Thessal monsters, right? Stranger Things, Vampire Spawns, Wraith Mages. And then what I also like is in the appendices, when we start getting to like page 250, you have different, much higher level versions of a lot of the NPC stuff, right? So now you have the Forgotten Realms NPC, where they're always a retired legendary Archmage, right there. And I love that it's using them, or the artwork is revealing sort of different races, right? Here's the legendary Archdruid, legendary Archmage, legendary Assassin, the Bandit Lord. I mean, you're not going to find any better than that artwork right there. Like, just from a pure quality level and skill set. Legendary Bard, you know? So I like things like that. Cult Leader. And then, as I mentioned, in the back, you're going to have them sorted by CR, environment, and type. So you can quickly navigate around when you're looking for stuff. Right here. So that's it. Yes, of course you can point and say, easy for you because you got it for free. Thank you so much, Dragonix, on that note. Thank you, thank you, thank you for always remembering me. I'd be honored and appreciative if you have another one coming out. And if you ever need anything besides just a review or a spotlight, you need any help with any of this stuff, I'd love to jump on board. I'm buying what you're selling, man. So really appreciative. Like I said, I'll put a link in the description where you guys can all find this. It's on DM's Guild right now. It's already a hot seller. The previous two were adamantine bestsellers. Very highly respected, reviewed. I've done videos on those and others have as well. So hopefully you'll take a look at this and support Dragonix and the efforts that I know he had to put forth in getting artwork of this quality. So I kind of know where you stand with that stuff, buddy. Thanks again. Thanks everyone for watching. See you soon.